What we see, hear, and read is media. And more importantly, our biggest hidden power is the power of imagination. Here's how the Bible, media, and the world influence our thoughts and actions. So we're going to start here. I do love looking up words because every time that I look up a word, I always learn something that I didn't know. So I'm going to define the word media. Let's go to it. So it's the middle layer. So media is related to this word, which is middle, the middle layer of a wall of a blood vessel or lymph vessel composed of connective and muscular tissue. Interesting. And a voiced stop consonant. Interesting. One of the major veins of the insect wing between the radius and the cubitus. An ant specializes as a forager in a leaf cutter and ant colony. Wow, I didn't know that. The etymology is medium, which is in the middle, particularly as a clipping of communications media, often reinterpreted as singular or mass noun. So media can be singular or plural. Media, neuter plural from medius, from medios, okay. Medium, means, often treated as uncountable, means and institutions for publishing and broadcasting information. So this is the main definition we're going to be using as it relates to a means, institution for publishing and broadcasting information. Interesting. And this is how we just really understand the words to mean. All right. Totality of content items, television shows, films, books, and photographs, which are broadcast or published. The journalists, other professions, files data comprising material viewable by humans, audio-visual, multimedia, communication, vocalization. And here we go. Media is a region in the northwest of Iran, originally inhabited by the Medes. The territories corresponding to the empire ruled by dynasts from Media. And this is interesting because we always have like a media dynasty. So this is rulership. Media is rulership. And then a place in the US as well is called Media. I think I've heard this, yeah. I think I remember this part. So Median in Iran. Let's go to Mede because we're going to be talking about this. So a Mede, any of a Western Iranian people who inhabited the region of Media. And we have all of these words: media, median, median, medic, Medai. So let's go to media. Okay, this takes us back there. Median. Let's go to the etymology first, middle. All right, so just basically, no, this is now talking about statistics, geometry. Oh, median line. Oh, yes. Central vein or nerve. So this is something inside the person through the forearm. This is geometric, a line. This is also statistical, mean, average, median number, and all of those things. So we read the dictionary and now we're going to the actual word. This is Genesis 11 from chapter 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. So media is what we see, hear, and read. And these things affect our thoughts and actions. So when the world had one language and one speech, it was easy for them to communicate. The media was so seamless and it was easy for people's minds to be connected and controlled. So this talks about how it was this power that they were able to communicate, to see and to hear the same thing at the same time with the same language. And here, verse 4 in blue, go to, let us build a city, a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So the theme of the name is going to be linked to the theme of a place and a person. Usually in the Bible, the place of the person is also given, is also how the place is named, such as Ham in the land of Ham, such as Put in the land of Put. So this name was also later on written. All right. So this is how words came about. But here, this is what I wanted to show you actually. Verse 6, not 4. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have one language. So with language, we can see what we need to explain and express. We can hear what needs to be said, and we can actually read what is written in one language. This is what media is: what we see, what we hear, what we read. So God said, behold, the people is one, and they have one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Now this talks about the power of imagination. Everything that the media does influences our imagination. This is how later on the people with media create images and idols that reflect a certain language, but the universal language was changed, and then people started to babble. So the Midianites later on formed symbols, and these symbols and sigils and signs, curses and everything was so that they could control what we see, what we hear, and what we read. And this is the power of controlling imagination. The imagination, the images in action. And this is why God literally said this in verse 7. And I'll put this in Auburn. Let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So this is how the world started to babble in Babylon. So this is Genesis 25. Verse 1 is going to talk about the media and where they come from. So this is Abraham's descendants through Keturah. A lot of people know about Hagar and Sarah, but this is the third wife. Then again, Abraham took a wife, and the name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Midan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. So this is very interesting, and this is going to be a recurrent theme when we talk about the media and Midianites. We're going to discover that they're always very, very in plain sight, but at the same time, they'll be hidden. So we see that this wife of Abraham had 6 children, and Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan. So this is also where we get the name for Sheba. Everyone always asks about the Queen of Sheba. Where was she from? Who was she? But this is where she comes from. And the sons of Midian were Ephah, Ephah, Hanok, Abida, Elda. These were the children of Keturah. So as the story goes, it's actually Abraham who's the father of many nations. So here, this is what we see. This is Genesis 17 verse 4. As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. So it's actually evident that the Midianites, the Ishmaelites, the Israelites, they're all different nations, but they're all pretty much the same nation at the same time, because they all come from the same person. But if you look at the video I made about Bantu Hebrew roots, you understand the meaning of father. And then here we're going to talk about Abraham. So it was first named Abram, but his name was changed, just like Israel. So here we go. So Abram, Abba, Abram means father. So the last part of the name means nations, which is Ham, nations. So neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram, AB for father, Abba, but thy name shall be Abraham. So this name change was from a father who was basically, well, he had fathered children with Hagar, but he was only meant to father children with Sarah. And then he later on fathered children with Keturah. With Keturah, I feel like it's more tricky, it's different, because it's until death do you apart, and it seems like she was first of all his concubine and then turned into his wife. But I'm going to make a video on Keturah later. So Abraham, for the father of many nations I have made thee. And then verse 6, I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. So these Midianites, Ishmaelites, Israelites all had kings, and these are all nations. This is the meaning of the word Ham, nations, and Abram, father. So Abraham, father of nations. So Midianites are very, very, very tricky. And here again, I'm back in the dictionary because I forgot to mention something about this word media, Latin media from ancient Greek. Can't read that, but here this is the word that I want us to focus on, which is M-A-D-A, mada, and then this is the root word of the word media, and it's going to come from here. Let me show you. It's going to come from here in Genesis 10 verse 2. So here we have the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, and Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras. So from these, this is from, in verse 5 we understand, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, in their families, in their nations. So Madai, Media, is also a Gentile and is also a child of Abraham. So this is why we're going to see that the Midianites are very, very tricky and often are in conflict and sometimes are helping the Israelites. So the Midianites definitely represent an aspect of power, imagination, and control. From Madai, we get the Magi. And then this is where we get the laws, all of the legislature, which is from Midian. So they're very tricky. They're also very powerful and very invisible. But now we're going to look at what they actually did in the Bible. So I'm going to start with Exodus 18 to introduce the Midianites. And this is going to happen through Moses and Jethro, his father-in-law. So when Jethro, the priest of Midian, who was Moses' father-in-law, heard all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, Jethro took Zipporah, so he went to see him. So first of all, there's an actual priesthood in Midian. This is a priesthood, and another thing is that he heard, and as I've been saying, the media is everything we see, hear, and read. So the Midianites were good at hearing information and also sharing information. All right, moving on, I'm going to read verse 10. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. And 11 says, Now I know the Lord is greater than all the gods, for in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. And this is something very interesting, as it goes in verse 12. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God. So this is a Midianite. This is also a priest in his own right. And he is hearing about God and sacrificing to God. So therefore, he is affiliated with the God of Israel, who took them out of Egypt, right? And Aaron came. So Aaron represents a priesthood. Moses represents a priesthood. Moses represents a priesthood. So these are the different priesthoods. The only one who's not represented here is Melchizedek. But then all of these are priests of God. Okay. And Aaron came, and all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. So this is what happened to the Midianites. And this is something that's very powerful, potent, and important. Okay. And then It came to pass on the morrow, Moses sat to judge the people. Right. Now, this is the part, I'm going to skip to 18. So this is the part where Jethro sees Moses doing everything on his own. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that you're doing is not good. You will surely wear away both you and your people with thee. Okay. So here again in brown or goldenrod. So verse 19. So now Jethro says, listen. Again, the media is all about what we see, what we hear, and what we read. So he saw, and then he told Moses, listen. Listen. And I will give you counsel. So this is what the Midianites are. This is their power, their superpower actually. As you will see, they are always able to give counsel to kings. And they do this invisibly. Maybe the people didn't even know that this was Jethro's advice, but we do. We know this because we're reading it, because it's about what we see, hear, and read. But he gave them the advice to rule nations. So I'll give you counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people Godward, that you may bring the causes unto God. So basically, he encouraged Moses to still mediate. But immediately, he was like, teach other people, and then they will mediate. And then those mediators will mediate what you mediate from God. This is the Midianite understanding of life and governance, okay? So you shall provide all the people able men. So I'll give you also the cross-reference of this to check on your own, which is Deuteronomy chapter 1 from 8 to 18. You just see how this was reiterated. And then you just also see how this kept on playing out. So listen, in verse 24, it just says, so Moses hearkened, he heard the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he said. 25. This is what he did. Moses chose able men out of all Israel and made them heads over the people. So basically, this is what the Midianites are able to do. They will go to a ruler, and then they will give the ruler pretty much the instructions of how to literally control and administer or mediate. And people heard this from Moses, but the actual thoughts, idea, and counsel was the Midianite. And this Midianite was also a priest, right? So this is how the heads of the people were chosen to rule thousands, to rule hundreds and fifties and tens. And this is how Israel ended up being run even in the days of David. So it's very interesting. It all came from the Midianites. So the Midianites, they work in a certain way. So here I'm going to go deeper into their workings. And this is Darius the Median took the kingdom. This is Babylon we're talking about. So the Midianites ended up taking over Babylon, and then Darius was 33 years old. And then I'm going to move to verse 6, Daniel 6 and 1. So check this out. So it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. So this is what he did. And over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. This is how the Midianites ruled in Babylon. They had the same type of mediation or same type of hierarchy. But they also created presidents. And up until today, we have presidents which are literally elected through the media or through mediation in some sort of form. What we see and hear and read, now we end up writing in order to cast a vote. All this is media. And here I just also want to show you, this is Esther 1, and then we'll go to verse 3, straight to verse 3. And this will encourage you to read more on your own as well. So in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and servants, the power of Persia and Media. So again, Persians and Medians and Daniel took over the kingdom. And here, this is Persia and Media. But then this, all right, I'll just include this for context. But it is in the days of another king, right? This is ruling from India to Africa. And this also has 127 provinces. So they use the same methods to rule vast empires. This is the Media. Yeah. So the nobles and princes were before him. So I just want to show you something interesting about the Midianites, which will tie into the next thing. Verse 4, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. So just showing you that the Midianites were also using wealth to mediate, and they had like a lot of money. And we see in the book of Judges, let me just go there quickly. So here I'm in Judges 7:12, and this is when Gideon is fighting the Midianites, and it says the Midianites and the Amalekites and the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers from multitude, and their camels were without number as the sand by the seaside for multitude. So this is something that's showing us that there were a lot of camels being a symbol of wealth. And there were so many that they just look like grasshoppers, so many camels. And this is also showing the wealth of the Midianites, right? So again in Judges, Gideon is fighting with the Midianites, and here this is now chapter 8 verse 5. It says here in yellow, Gideon is now pursuing Ziba and Zalmunna, which are the kings of Midian. Okay, let me just scroll down again to verse 21. Ziba and Zalmunna said, "Rise thou, fall upon us, for as the man is, so is the strength." And Gideon arose, slew Zeba and Zuma, and took away the ornaments that were on their camels' necks. All right, 24. And Gideon said unto them, "I will desire a request from you." So they were like, "Oh, you have delivered the people of Israel, like you've delivered us from the Midianites, you can now rule over us." They're like, "Nah, I will desire this request from you, that you give me every man the earrings of his prey," for they had golden earrings because they were Ishmaelites. So here again, the Midianites are very, very tricky, also very, very rich. And I'm going to show you why and how in the next part right now. But here I just want to show you that they had golden earrings because they were also Ishmaelites. All right. So they gave them the earrings. And the earrings that they had, some of them were actually on their animals, which were the camels, which were like grasshoppers, right? But these were the kings, so I don't know if all of them had ornaments on their cows, but on their camels. But they all had these earrings. The Ishmaelites all had these golden earrings, and the weight of the golden earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold. Besides ornaments, collars, purple raiment that was on the kings of Midian, and besides the chains that were about their camels' necks. So these people were extremely powerful, wise, and extremely rich. So there's definitely a mystery in how the Midianites were able to acquire so much wealth, and this is back at Keturah. We'll see here that in purple that Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac. But these Midianites ended up being very, very rich. All right. So it's also, I feel like I will go into that when I talk about Keturah because of the meaning of her name. But now I want to show you even something more interesting. So keep in mind that Gideon was able to take the wealth of the Ishmaelites, who were aka the Midianites. And the Midianites were aka the Persians, because this is what they do. They are the power behind the power. So now I'm going to show you the power of the Midianites over here. So now this is Genesis chapter 37. I'll start from 25. So this is the story of Joseph. So this is when the brothers had already thrown him into the pit, and then they sat down to eat bread. They lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, and with their camels bearing spices, balm, myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. So Ishmaelites, and then we already know from Judges that they had a lot of camels. The camels were used for trading, and Ishmael was the child of Abraham. Remember this? And Isaac was a child of Abraham as well, but they were all sent away. Hagar had that child Ishmael, and then Keturah had the other child Midian. So now just watch this, and you have to really pay attention this time here, because they're very tricky. And now verse 26, I'll just go each verse. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Let us sell him to the Ishmaelites. Okay, so people perhaps were already assumed, just like Judah, that the Ishmaelites will have the money to pay them, right? Like, hey, let's just sell them to the Ishmaelites. Because the Ishmaelites were already trading. They already had these precious balm, myrrh, and spice. So, and then the brothers were like, all right, cool, let's do that. Now, at the same time, and then they passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. They brought Joseph to Egypt. And this is how the children of Israel end up going to Egypt, and the Midianite, Jethro, ends up coming to see Moses to congratulate him for what God has done. But this is actually a Midianite priest who was Jethro. But now this is the Midianites who actually took them to Egypt in the first place. This is why the Midianites are very, very tricky. And at the same time, just like we saw in the book of Judges, the Ishmaelites and the Midianites are basically lumped together, grouped together, because then they pass by Midianite merchantmen, just like the Ishmaelites were merchantmen. They were all going to the same direction, but by some art, by some power, the Midianites were able to create this transaction. And both of them were engaged in this human trafficking. This is deep. This is human trafficking happening because of the Midianites and the Ishmaelites for the love of money. The route that Joseph took is the same one that the Midianites was congratulating God to say, like, you have brought them out of Egypt. The Midianites are very tricky, very powerful, very rich, and they have this reach. They're able to do all of these things, create all of these ideas, and the glory, the power of the Midianites is in their secrecy, but their ability to control and manipulate situations. They literally set up presidents and kings and created administrations, but they also create transactions. Just like how a bank creates money out of thin air. How did they sell something they never bought? How did they sell something that they did not own? It was their profit, but it was supposed to be the Ishmaelites, not the Midianites. So they have these abilities that are very, very strange. They're very, very tricky. They're cunning. They're wise. And this is how they create their massive wealth. And this is how they gain power, the Midianites. So the Midianites and the media, this is very much exciting topic for me. And if you made it this far, congratulations, and I would really love for you to just check out some of the free books that I have. And if you're able to support this platform, the next video or the next couple of videos, I don't know if I'll do that exactly as the next one, but I am going to be talking about Keturah as well and other topics. So just be subscribed for that and watch out for that. And thank you so much. You are in my prayers. So this has been Media in the Bible, and I hope you learned something that will show you what has been missing, and it's always the key to gain knowledge, because my people perish from a lack of knowledge. But one last word about the Midianites. Numbers 25:17 to 18. Vex the Midianites and smite them, for they vex you with their wiles.